Welcome to Black Royalty, where everyone is royalty.
You royalty.
You royalty.
We royalty. Y'all royalty.
I'm Olivia, and
I'm Kai. You already know me.
And this was actually our second week of school.
Yeah, this is the second week of school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're going to talk about some topics today: microaggression and music. Because it's the first week, we've been hearing some things about topics that people want to talk about. Music is always like the best one. Mm-hmm. And we've been hearing about some microaggressions on campus, which is a big deal and something that we should talk about. So what do you think on that topic?
I think it's interesting. One, because you already know, like we go to a PWI, so predominantly white institution, for y'all that don't know the term. It's always hard the first week. I feel like that's where the most complaints come from, especially from freshmen and people who are like transfers, or younger people, or those folks who just haven't come from like predominantly white spaces. And so like throughout my years at USD and everything, like obviously I've heard a lot, especially over the first couple of months, just like, oh, my professor said this in class, or called me out, or one of my classmates said this, or stuff like that. So it can be a little challenging, because when you don't come from spaces like that, it's kind of like shell shock. It's like, what do I do? What do I say? Like, how do I respond? And I really think that that's something that's learned, because to be honest, when I first came to USD and I was like experiencing microaggressions, I didn't know how to handle them myself either, because that's not where I had come from. And so it's something that you have to figure out, how comfortable am I addressing this? Like, am I the person who kind of just lets it slide, or am I the person who's like, hey, that wasn't okay, and let me tell you why, like further educating the person.
Yeah, it's one thing to come to a new school and it's like you come from a different background, where it's like you could come from a school that's predominantly Black. And then you go to a new school that's a little bit different and it's like predominantly a different race. But it is a whole other thing when it's like you're literally the only one, or one of the only ones in the classroom, or so I think that that's definitely a different experience. And I've been someone who's always been in a predominantly white institution, school. But still today, it's still kind of like, because you're the only one, and, you got to get used to other people. So I was going to ask, what do you think, what would you give the advice for the freshmen, or any encouragement, insight?
I mean, kind of like what you said, like on the note of the spaces, and like you being the only one in the space, like it can be intimidating, right? Like it can be intimidating, trying to speak up, and you're the only person representing, your race, your culture in that area, and now you're like, okay, I don't want to like, like tell the professor he's wrong, or go off on a student like in the middle of class. But I think my first suggestion would just be like, figure out your level of comfortability with addressing those type of things, because not everybody is the one who's like, I gotta say something, I gotta speak up. You know what I'm saying? Some people are more quiet. You may be the person who maybe doesn't speak up at the beginning, especially if it's a professor, because sometimes professors say things and they don't mean it. Some of them do mean it. Some of them mean it. But when they do mean it, then you need to get somebody else involved. But if they don't mean it, it's just something, outside of that, go up to the professor after class and be like, hey, you said this during class, and I just didn't feel like that was comfortable. Instead of like calling them out, like quote quote calling them out in the middle of the class, So if it does make you very uncomfortable or something like that, or he keeps calling on you or looking at you because you're the only Black person in space, and y'all talk about slavery, and everybody's like, so what do y'all think about slavery? Yeah. Exactly. Everybody turning around trying to be like, where's that one person at? Where's the one Black person at? So it's like, all right, well, if you're that type of person that's kind of like, all right, let me handle this outside of class. Just go to the professor and be like, hey, this is happening. I'm not very comfortable with it, and even though I am the only Black voice, or one of the only Black voices in the room, that doesn't always mean that I want to speak on a topic. You're not entitled to speak on anything you don't want to speak on, right?
Yeah.
And so, obviously they look for Black voices, but you have no obligation to speak. So just figure out what kind of person that you are. If you're the person who's like, I'm gonna address this right here, right now, y'all stop looking at me. Like straight up, stop looking at me because
Yeah.
I don't have all the answers. Like I'm not about to speak for the entire culture. But just figure out what person you are and then address it accordingly. And you may change over time. You may be a person who's very loud at the beginning and then just like, okay, maybe I need to pull people to the side next time, or vice versa. So just figure out what that comfortability is, and if it's serious enough to where you don't know exactly what to do or you don't feel comfortable handling yourself, get somebody else involved. Go to BSU, go to the BSRC, talk about it with them, and see kind of how you can get that addressed. Because we have done stuff like that in the past, where like people tell BSU or they'll tell the BSRC, and then we'll talk to that professor. We'll send an email or something like that.
Yeah.
But figure out what that is for you.
Another thing I'll add, I guess, is one thing, like you said, don't blame yourself if you don't feel comfortable to address something, because it can be very nerve wracking. And then you do feel like the weight of, my actions and who's going to defend me and how I'm represented. You don't want to be like, sometimes I'll be like, should I say something or am I just going to be seen as like an angry black,
Exactly.
person? So don't beat yourself up and definitely take a moment in time to like recuperate. And then also you can always like connect with other people, if you are in an institution, if you see someone that kind of you can relate to,
Mm-hmm.
don't be afraid to go say hi. And
Mm-hmm.
then don't take that one experience, I would say, and put it into everything,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't want to put a whole wall up because of those negative experiences, which are real. But you know don't be able to take a break and then recuperate, and also connect with people that you can relate to.
Yeah. 100%.
So for my first few days when I came to the college, I came here a little early because of the BSRC and student support services. And I was literally walking from getting food, and then there was a big group of like sports guys. I think they were in soccer, and they all started saying the N word in a pirate voice. And I was right behind them, and I felt like really awkward because it was like one of my few first days, and there were a lot of students that I met at the BSRC who were like nervous about coming to a white institution. I was like, no, no, it's good because I'm from a white institution. It's like they're probably worried too, but things happen, and then I experienced that like right in front of my face. And I was like, should I say something? Should I do something? And I kind of felt really awkward and kind of like, hurt in a way, because it was like, I'm literally right here. And they even saw me, and someone was trying to justify it by saying it means friend. And I really felt like correcting them because I don't want that to happen. And I took offense to it, but I didn't. And so I kind of beat myself up about it and talked to someone. And I realized that these things do happen, and sometimes you can't control people, but you can control yourself. And everyone had that mindset that you working on yourself and kind of not trying to, I guess, put things on others, then we wouldn't have much of these problems. Because I was really gonna go off, but I don't know what that would have done. Like even if that made me feel better for a little bit of a moment, I know they're just gonna continue their ways. And then what I did is I connected with other people that were just like me, and I also connected with other people who weren't just like me, trying to get a little bit more experiences. And because people will disappoint you, no matter what, they will disappoint you. Um, it's just a learning experience. Definitely don't dismiss it because it is very valid. But
I think it's funny because I always say God has blessed me because He know the situations to put me in and the ones not to put me in. And so personally, I haven't experienced a lot of microaggressions myself at USD.
mm,
Um, and I just think that that's crazy because like I haven't like I've heard so many stories, but I haven't experienced as many myself. So there's very like few that I can think of, and even the few that I have had have been in my early years at USC, so like freshman,
yeah,
maybe like sophomore year, a little bit. And so the only one that I can really think of is Um, Similar to I lived in the Vistas my sophomore year, and so I was in a room. Our whole room was like diverse. We're all like totally different people,
Mhm.
and my room was awesome. Shout out to Laguna 202. Um, Anyway, we were just chilling in our room, like we were in like the common space, and we were like giggling, whatever, blah blah blah. It was like a Friday night or Saturday night or something, and across the like little building hall, like we could hear this group of people who obviously were not black screaming, singing a song that had the N word in it like multiple times, and they were all
Oh.
singing the word. And so I immediately was like, and then all my roommates were like, and I was like, these people ain't black. They shouldn't be saying that word. And it was like, it was disturbingly loud. Like it was like rude loud. And so we didn't know anybody else on our floor really like that, except for maybe like a few handful of people. And the people that we did know, they didn't even live on the same side that the noise was coming from. So we are like, okay,
Mm.
it's nobody that we know for sure. Um, and so in that situation, instead of my friends were like, my roommates were like, "Hey, we can go over there and knock on the door. Like, we'll go with you if you want to like go address that." And I was like, "I appreciate that, but I'm just gonna, I'll just call the RA." So we ended up like calling the RA, and we were just like, "Hey, there's this group of kids that's just being really disrespectful and disruptive right now.
Mhm.
Can you come address it or whatever?" And so the RA came. They turned the noise down or whatever. So it really does depend on the situation. Like in some cases, it may not be smart for you to handle it because I can't tell you. I don't know who was in that room. I don't know what kind of stuff they had. I don't know what would have happened if I
Yeah.
did go up there and say something to them. And that would have been just uncomfortable for me at the time. I was young still like really trying to figure out like what my blackness looked like and my comfortability level with addressing situations like that.
Mhm.
So I felt like at the time the best decision was just to call the RA and let them know like, hey, these guys are being disruptive. They're saying all like racial slurs and stuff like that. And, that's disturbing. So they addressed it, they turned the music down, everything like that. But I think you just really kind of have to gauge the situation and see like, okay, what's the best course of action for me to take in this situation? Because it's not always a sense of you have to address this. Maybe somebody you can call or something like that. So.
Yeah. I just hope that, people on campus, they start feeling a lot better and with experience and, you know, hopefully making better connections.
Mm-hmm.
It'll just be one of those experiences.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about music. I wanted to ask, like, what music means to you, your history with music.
That's such a vague question, but
It's a
I'm gonna do
huge
my
question.
best. Um, so long story short, I started doing music when I was like 6. I started piano lessons. My sister was doing like singing lessons and stuff like that. I did that for a little under 2 years, and then I stopped and then I started playing drums in like church growing up. And then high school, I was in all kind of bands, in ensembles, percussion ensemble, drumline, jazz ensemble, rock band, like all that stuff. And now I minored in music in college, and almost majored, but that was too many credits. But my relationship with music is it's a part of my everyday. Like I don't go a day without listening to
Hmm.
it. It was funny because I left my headphones in Chris's car like literally a couple of days ago, and I was walking around campus, and I usually walk around campus with my headphones in,
Hmm.
but I didn't have no music, and I was like, this is the worst day of my life.
I literally hate when I leave.
I was like, this is terrible.
I hate when I leave my
I was
headphones.
like, I can't do this. Like, how am I supposed to?
Hmm.
I can't listen to music when I'm walking. I can't listen to music when I'm just chilling. Like, I can't. I don't have any means for that. And I'm like,
Especially when you
it's
got
so.
that one song stuck in
When
your
I got
head.
that one song, I'm like, I wish I could listen to it right now, but I can't. No, but it's a part of my everyday, and I do my best to be as broad as I can. I listen to like all types of music. Doesn't matter the language. Doesn't matter where it's from. I'm open to all of it. And then I create it also. Like I play music, obviously, stuff like that. So it's just a part of my life. Like I couldn't imagine my life without music. Like it would be really difficult.
Yeah, I totally understand that. What about, well, family wise with music? So for me and my family, like we grew up in the church as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so my mom was always on the praise team
Mm-hmm.
and we would always be involved in some way at church. So like with that gospel music, and then we would have jazz music always playing. Like every time it was Sunday, my grandparents like made that breakfast or my mom be cleaning, she would have this certain song on, whether it's jazz or gospel or sometimes Usher or something. My mom
It's all
never
over the
admits it.
place.
It's always we Usher Ashanti. But yeah, so it's like I kind of grew up with that music.
Mm-hmm.
I love that music. I love the 90s. Um and I think I got it a lot from my parents as well,
Mm-hmm.
which I noticed like gets carried on. And then with my own kind of personality as well. What about the music around with your family?
My family's always been some kind of musically inclined. My grandparents were in the choir. My dad played an instrument. My sister plays an instrument. My older sister sings. So it's always been around. It's funny because jazz is my favorite genre of music, and I take that in part because my grandfather he used to put us to sleep like as kids. It's so funny.
Um,
What he used to do because like of course we're like kids, so we're gonna be rowdy and stuff like that. And by the time that we were like growing up and stuff, my grandpa retired like when my parents started having kids.
mhm.
Um, so he would trick us, and what he would do is he had this huge like stereo system in his room, and he would put on like jazz music, right? So it's like
Mhm.
real soft, playing whatever, blah blah blah. He would just lay in his bed. He would like have his hands like folded on his stomach, and he would just like lay there. Like sometimes he would sleep, sometimes he wasn't, but like he would just chill because like he ain't had nothing to do. He retired. So we would like be running around the house and stuff like that, and we pass by his room and see him laying down, and then we'd be like, nah, nah, nah. And then we go run around again, and then come back. He'd still be laying down. And eventually, I swear this happened every single time. Eventually, we go in there, we lay right next to him. We get comfortable, and then we knocked out. Like every time. So he knew
That's
how
what it
to he
does.
knew how he knew how to get us to go to bed. So like to this day, like jazz music is like calming for me. Like it brings me to a level of peace that like I can't really explain. So it's like that's it's always been around the house. And like you said, like on weekends, like we cleaning, we got music on. Like we doing
100%.
something. We got music on, we're dancing, we're singing, whatever. So yeah, it's definitely a family thing too as well.
I was gonna ask the question because we were talking about our families, but you notice a lot of black families have a lot of things in common. So I was gonna try to because you've already talked about it in like music classes that we've taken,
Mm-hmm.
especially with black culture,
Mm-hmm.
because jazz has its roots,
Mm-hmm.
after the Great Depression, blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
Gospel music has its roots in slavery, and we
Mm-hmm.
carry on this music and it expands on,
Mm-hmm.
right? Expands onto different genres. So I was gonna try to get into that a bit
Mm-hmm.
because without even realizing it, we carry a lot of history and meaning with this music without realizing it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. I think um I think all music tells a story, no matter what genre it is, what culture it's from. Music is gonna tell stories in different ways. I think that's something that makes music unique though, because it's like you have all these different time periods, the
Mm-hmm.
70s and like disco and the 80s and like funk and the 90s, yeah, all this stuff going on, and I would even relate it like to, like when we're in COVID and stuff like that, people making music,
Yeah.
George Floyd being murdered, people are just like making revolution songs again, like that. Revive some parts of music that we've seen before in the past, just in a more modern sense. So it's like, these generations, as people go on, they carry that stuff with them and they don't forget it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, because there's nothing new under the sun, right? So, take music from back in the day, mix it, create something new out of it, but it still applies to our generation now. Especially like black music. It's,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's I don't know if that's ever gonna look different, but it's dope. It's dope. It's dope to see.
Yeah, I definitely have seen like other like genres of music that kind of got a little not forgotten, but not as played as much, kind
Mm-hmm.
of come again, but a little bit like innovated or changed in a modern sound or some kind of twist in it. Um, like let me think of an example. Oh, like when Doja Cat came out with the Say So, people were like they liked the sound. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
really know much about disco,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a disco sound. And so I realized like a lot of music today will kind of bring up like some things that were created, or like,
Mm-hmm.
like disco, or like really old school hip hop, and then put it into music today, or like, like samples, like
Mm-hmm.
what's that one? Oh, like On My Mama with the Charlie Boy,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
put it into the
yeah,
song. And that happens a lot with samples. So I think it's very cool because it's kind of like re-educating in a way, and
yeah.
also giving a shout out and giving that nostalgia as well into music.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how many samples are actually like out there. Like how much
Mm-hmm.
of modern music, like our age music, that's sampled from like really, really old stuff that people just
Yeah.
don't know.
When it comes to like black music, especially in America, a lot of the music today that was created was really a lot by
Mm-hmm.
black people, whether it's disco, reggae, um, funk, even country music.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it, I think, kind of originated during slavery because music was so big. Music was so big for them because it is just inspirational, it keeps you going, and it kind of distracts you from things that's going on. Like you could be walking to class and be so bored and be like, I really don't want to go to class at 6 a.m. But I put on those headphones and then I'm like,
I guess I go. I
you
guess
know,
I go.
it's a lot better mood. So I think from slavery and those like the hymns that they would sing in
Mm-hmm.
the church, etc., it kind of expanded. You'll see like a lot of things like riffs and runs, or what's that one term? It's like a callback term, call and
Call and
response.
response.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see a lot of those things that originated in slavery and the church,
Mm-hmm.
etc., and it will go into like disco. It will go into funk. It will go into reggae. It will go into hip hop, and you can find a lot of those elements too. Even when it comes to instruments, like the drums or certain patterns in music, um, it happens a lot, which I think is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to like black music, I think I feel like we as a people, and people in general, but I feel like we're a lot for black people. We definitely are some musical people.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it could be like literally the siren goes off and somebody's going to be dancing or something. And I just think that's really interesting to know. So
Mm-hmm.
there's definitely a lot of history when it comes to music, especially with black music. And I know that music definitely changes too, which it could be for good, for worse. I think it's always good because, that new sound and the new generation, they're putting their own personality and they're putting their own kind of characteristic in their time frame of music. So what do you think about I want to go more into the music industry and music today. So what
Mm-hmm.
do you think about what's going on today with music?
Mm. Mm. It's weird because one, like I said, like listening to okay. Hmm. I'm gonna contain it to the black music industry because I feel like I can speak more about that um, than the entire music industry. And not to say like I said, I do listen to all music, but like that's integral. So I think it's a lot of things. Like I say, I think that it's. I'm like losing my train of thought. Okay,
It's definitely a
it's
lot.
it's a lot. It's a lot, bro. Um, and I think it's cool. It's crazy because I think when you listen to so much music, it's so my shuffle is insane. First of all, my shuffle is crazy, but I think where I am listening to music right now is a lot more on the neo soul kind of vibe, stuff like that.
Mm,
And so for me to go, like if I have a day and I just have like I have like a whole like neo soul playlist. So if I have a day and I'm just listening to like neo soul, whatever, blah blah blah. Then I go to hang out with friends and then they listening to like all this like hard rap and like hip hop. It's not that I don't know the songs or necessarily even like the music, but um I just know that there's more meaning to the music that I'm currently listening to right now.
mm,
Like that I have trust me, I've had my share of like being in the super like popular music where, it's all about drugs and money and
yeah.
girls and all that stuff like that. But I think as I continue to not only broaden my music scope, but just learning about music and how intricate it actually is. People don't even know music is actually one of the hardest majors in college. Like music is a hard major. It's hard.
Ooh.
It is not easy. Music is it's not as simple as people think it is. Um, but I think that yeah, I just think that the industry is very it has a very narrow view that they try to promote really big. Like it's like a small window of things that are grow popular. Money,
Yeah.
drugs, women. Like you make a
Very
song
true.
about money, drugs, and women, and you put it on a good beat, or you get somebody a good rapper, a popular rapper to sing it, you got a hit song. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like it's
Mhm.
very like narrow, but they try to blow it up so big. And that's not to like down any rappers or artists who don't make music like that way.
Mhm.
Um, because there are artists who talk about a variety of things,
Mhm.
but it's very small. And I right now the artists that I'm like focusing on and like listening to are not big artists. They're not like
Mhm.
very known. Some of them are, some of them aren't. I'm also reaching back a lot to like 90s stuff, 80s, 70s, 60s, all of that stuff. So it's it's an interesting industry, and to be honest, I'm kind of like hesitant to know too much about it because I'm just like, do I want to know a lot about this music? It's just gonna make me
Mhm.
upset.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. I definitely get that. For the music industry part, I know that like it really depends on like what the audience cares for, because if a
Hmm.
lot of people are really like they want someone who looks attractive or
Hmm.
someone who can like, I guess, hmm. It's just I think that there's a lot of things that are like trending, and if you get into that and hop into that, you're like set for it. Like it's kind of like even when you go to other places, like if you're a standout, you'd expect yourself to be like, you know, the best, and you want to be able to stand out. But a lot of times in the music industry, they want you to stand out in a way, but also kind of fit what they
Hmm.
want
Yeah, I
and
gotta
be
fit a
this.
mold.
Yeah. So for me, like when it comes to like rap music, and I love rap music, and I love like R&B as well. Um, but a lot of artists today, like to me, they kind of rap or sing about the same things, and a lot of the things will be a little bit negative, or just like I've already heard this, or I've already heard this line, or so I just it's just a little bit disappointing too, because like I'll really get into that artist and I'll learn that they've made like work previously, and it'll be about their own personality, their own story, etc. But the music industry or people don't want to like put that out there because it's not going to make them a lot of money.
Hmm.
And there was like a saying Tupac said where it's like, man, I already forgot it. But it's pretty much about how like if you say this or do this, this is what's getting them paid.
Hmm.
And that's kind of like the view and mindset of a lot of people. I really wish that in the music industry and artists, they kind of don't stray from who they are and what they want to do. I want them to be able to express themselves in the ways that they've imagined and not to forget that passion in music. Sometimes I feel like some artists, especially today, like they really care about just the money aspect, not really like the craft and art. They kind of like either rush projects or like, I'll do this and I'll say this so I can get money, which is like really great because you want to see people successful. And the music they make, I don't know why, but even it can be some crazy lyrics in the song, but I'm gonna still listen to it because it sounds good. It's just, it's
I
crazy.
usually like to listen to instrumentals when it gets too crazy like that, because
Hmm.
like I'm more of a, I mean like unless it's like, and don't get me wrong, like you have like some revolutionary artists like Kendrick and like Cole who like actually talk about real
Yes.
stuff. You know what I mean? But like outside of some of those artists, some of those like mainstream artists who just are really big like they are, like it's hard to pick that apart. But I think music has been for Black folks. I think music has been too much of an integral part of our culture
Hmm.
for it to just be contained to money and drugs and all kind of stuff like that. And again, not saying that that's all what it's about, but you hear a lot of these songs out here, and they kind of all talk about, like you said, the same thing. Um, but even going back to what you said about like it being a part of slavery and just stuff like that, like we made music out of what we could. We
Hmm.
had barrels and stuff. We was beating on that work songs. all kinds of stuff that's been throughout history, you know. So it's kind of like we have to find our own, talk what you want to talk about, like express your art in the way that you want to express it, but don't fall into the mold. You know what I mean? Even if that means you don't become a mainstream artist, you know what I mean? If you have a certain topic that like speaks to you and a certain thing that you wanna promote or you wanna say, that's
Mm-hmm.
your art. Do it.
Yeah.
But try not to fall into this industry where it's like, okay, you gotta say this. You say this, you dress like this, you do this, and we gonna pay you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, nah, don't
Especially if
don't do
that's not
all that.
what you wanted before. That's why I
Exactly.
have like a lot of respect for like there's like so many underrated artists or like
Mm-hmm.
artists who are
Facts.
always on the grind, always consistent, always really careful with what they do. They'll be literally dancing, singing, doing production.
Mm-hmm.
It's just crazy. And I really hope that those artists get their shine in their time. But that's why with the audience, it's very big for the audience because you are the ones who's paying these people and you're the ones who's giving them views.
Mm-hmm.
And regardless if you really don't like that type of music, you're still kind of adding towards it and adding towards the trend and, you know, ideal of it.
Mm-hmm.
So like definitely look at your underrated artists, definitely look at your artists that you want to see because there's a lot of people out there. There's so much talent out there. You just don't get that shine or light because there's other people over, you know,
Mm-hmm.
overthrowing it. So definitely look for, there's so many artists out there. And I just really hope that um, someone out there can help them get their spotlight and shine,
Mm-hmm.
and also introduce them to people who really would like to hear that music.
I have a question. Your favorite artist of all time?
So it's Michael Jackson. Um,
Fair.
I just liked him because, well, first of all, he was the king of pop,
Mm-hmm.
and then the music, the dedication, the choreography. I love choreography, so I really like musical artists that dance as well,
Mm-hmm.
because I love choreography. But yeah, he literally like did everything: disco, R&B, pop,
Mm-hmm.
all of that. I really like '90s though, '90s music. So it could be Janet, it could be Ashanti, it could be Destiny's Child, Beyonce. It don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like a lot of artists today. I think I'm mainly in like house, R&B, rock, pop, rap, crunk. I just like all that stuff. Oh,
I think, well, my favorite artist of all time, Stevie Wonder.
I love Stevie.
Man's personally, wow, man's personally to me cannot be beat. I mean, like this man. I think that what's still the deal too for me is like they asked this man to do an album for a documentary about plants. This man ain't never seen a plant before. How you gonna write a whole album about plants?
Whoa.
I'm gonna just be real with you, bro. Hey, look, I'm just being real with you, bro. They asked this man to write an album about plants, stuff he ain't never seen before in his lifetime. How you gonna write an album about plants? When I tell you, bro, first of all, this is an underrated Stevie album, but I'm gonna put y'all on. The Secret Life of Plants. Insane, number one. It sounds like what you would expect plants to sound like. Like
I gotta hear that.
there's a song at the end of the album called Tree. It sounds like a tree growing, like from seed
I have
to
got to
full
hear
blown
that.
tree. It sounds like a tree. But this man has never seen any of this stuff in his life, and he's continuously is able to hit it nail on. You can't tell me that that's not fire. That's GOAT status. That's insane. So I don't
That
know. Personally, I'm a root for Stevie every time. Shout out to Stevie, bro. He really be doing it.
that's Stevie's definitely great.
He really
Well,
be doing it.
I think that's all that we have for today. Thank you, Kaya, and
Of course. We're gonna have
um,
a lot of bloopers in this episode for y'all. It's gonna be so many bloopers. Today was one of those days for us,
today was one of those days.
but
But
it's cool. It's cool. We all good. It was a fly. It was all kind of stuff. It was alarms. It was a lot going on. But we'll see y'all. Thank you guys so much for tuning
thank you.
in. We'll see y'all in the next episode and stay loyal.
Okay.
This nigga funny, right?
Yeah, it says that in text too. Then I started doing it for a while.
I be doing it. I be doing it all the time.
But it's a whole movie.
Hey, shout out Trey Lavelle, Ryan. Shout out my dad. Shout out all of them. Shout out y'all. Hey, shout them all out. Hey, this y'all. Hey. All right,
Oh, oh, oh. Oh my God. Okay, all right. 1, 2, 3. Welcome to Black Royalty,
where everyone is royalty.
Are we saying it both together? Are we saying
That's why I keep getting missed.
Let's say it both together. Let's say it both together. Welcome to Black Royalty, where everyone is royalty.
That's a lot. Is that not a lot?
Okay, I got it this time. 100%. Okay.
All right, you got it?
Yeah,
all
I got
right,
it this time. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I was going to try to connect this with like our culture.
I'm finna kill this fly fool.
Because
why is on me? Sorry, hold on.
Yeah, he was right over here.
Yeah, no, why is he, bro?
He's trying to be featured.
Nah, he ain't royalty.
Yo, shout out Buzz.
Jay. Bro, why is it all about me? It's because, you know what it is? It's probably because I have, I think I killed it. I did.
Yeah,
that was insane. That's insane that I just killed that like that. These reflexes is crazy. I killed a fly with my thumb. This thumb. Zoom in on the thumb. No, don't zoom in on the thumb because it's like, I think part of his leg is on mine. Hold on.